In 2024 and 2025, Taiwan faced a relentless series of natural disasters that pushed the island to its limits. An earthquake of unprecedented ferocity struck in April 2024, followed by the catastrophic Typhoon Danas in July 2025. From the crumbling buildings of Hualien to the submerged streets of Tainan, these events left communities shattered, infrastructure in ruins, and thousands fighting to survive. This is the story of a nation battered by the raw power of nature, united by unwavering courage, and grappling with the escalating threat of climate-driven catastrophes. On April 3, 2024, Taiwan was rocked by its strongest earthquake since the devastating 1999 Chi quake, measuring 7 on the Richter scale, with an epicenter just 18 kilometers south of Hualien at a shallow depth of 20 kilometers. The quake unleashed chaos across the east coast. In Hualien, a 5-story building collapsed on its first floor, tilting precariously at a 45-degree angle. Roads buckled, railway lines twisted, and landslides blocked mountain passes, isolating rural communities. Schools and workplaces shut down, plunging the city into a state of emergency. The quake's impact rippled to Kinmen, 200 kilometers away, while aftershocks rattled Taipei for hours, shaking the confidence of a nation. Taiwan's semiconductor giant, TSMC, halted production lines, disrupting global supply chains critical to technology industries worldwide. The United States Geological Survey reported a depth of 8 kilometers initially, but Japan's meteorological agency confirmed the shallower 20-kilometer depth, amplifying the destruction. Tsunami warnings triggered panic in southern Japan, with 30-centimeter waves hitting Yonaguni Island, just 110 kilometers from Taiwan. Fears of 1-meter waves prompted evacuations to higher ground in Okinawa, where residents watched the sea from hilltops in Nahai. In Taiwan, the human toll was immediate. Injuries mounted, power outages darkened cities, and daily life ground to a halt. Just over a year later, on July 6, 2025, Typhoon Danas slammed into Taiwan's southern and western coasts with unrelenting force. With wind speeds reaching 196 kilometers per hour and a pressure drop to 961 hectopascals, it was the strongest storm to hit Tainan since 1958. Tainan and Kaohsiung bore the brunt, receiving over 600 millimeters of rainfall in 24 hours, far exceeding the monthly average. In Mudan Township and Pingtung County, flash floods turned roads into rivers, while landslides blocked major highways. In Tainan's Yongkang area, winds tore down giant signs and uprooted poles, leaving streets littered with debris. The Taiwan Electric Power Company reported 28 households without power, with 1722 in Kaohsiung alone, 416 in Pingtung, and hundreds more in Chiayi, Yunlin, and Taipei. Transportation collapsed. 145 ferry services across 14 routes, and all domestic flights were canceled, stranding 9,000 people on Penghu, 8,000 on Matsu, 536 on Green Island, and 78 on Orchid Island. In Taichung, metro stations filled with water, trapping hundreds until emergency teams arrived. Ports closed, and rural areas became inaccessible, cut off from supplies and rescue. The human cost was heart-wrenching. Over 3,000 injuries overwhelmed hospitals in southern Taiwan, with patients suffering broken bones, drownings, and trauma. Emergency generators kept intensive care units running, but medical care stretched thin. In Tainan, residents clung to trees and poles as floodwaters surged, some holding children above the torrents. Social media became a lifeline. with viral videos showing mothers shielding infants and strangers carrying elderly from submerged homes. Hashtags like Taiwan Flood and Save Tainan spread pleas for help, mobilizing communities across the island. The Central Weather Administration reported Danas moving north-northeast at 35 kilometers per hour, with a 150-kilometer radius threatening further destruction. By 9 p.m. on July 6th, the storm's center was 70 kilometers south-southeast of Penghu, slowing to 15 kilometers per hour, but still packing devastating power. As Danas moved toward Fujian and Zhejiang in mainland China, Taiwan urged evacuations in high-risk zones, warning against travel in low-lying areas. Over 5,000 rescue workers, including soldiers and firefighters, deployed across the island, setting up shelters in schools, stadiums, and community centers for thousands of displaced residents. As a disaster analyst, these events expose Taiwan's vulnerability to compounding hazards. The 2024 earthquake, with its shallow 20-kilometer depth, amplified ground shaking, causing structural failures similar to the 1999 Chi-Chi quake, which killed over 2,400 and caused $11 billion in damage. Taiwan, located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, faces over 1,000 quakes annually, per the USGS, with shallow quakes increasing collapse risks. Typhoon Danas, fueled by warmer Pacific waters, reflects a 15% rise in extreme weather events in East Asia over the past decade. According to the World Meteorological Organization, warmer oceans, holding 7% more moisture per degree Celsius of warming, drive stronger storms, with Danas's 600 millimeters of rain mirroring the Philippines' 2024 floods. The Central Weather Administration's data shows Danas wind speeds of 4 meters per second on the Beaufort scale, classifying it as a Category 4 equivalent storm, capable of catastrophic structural damage. The economic toll is staggering. The earthquake disrupted TSMC, halting 60% of global advanced semiconductor production, with losses estimated at $3 billion, akin to Japan's 2011 Tohoku quake, which cost $210 billion. Danas devastated agriculture in Pingtung and Kaohsiung, destroying rice, fruit, and vegetable crops, threatening food security like Vietnam's 2024 rice shortages. Infrastructure damage, including 145 canceled ferry routes and 200 kilometers of damaged roads, could cost Taiwan $5 billion to repair, per preliminary estimates. Socially, the elderly and rural communities, like those in Mudan Township, faced disproportionate impacts, echoing inequities seen in the U.S. during Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Where marginalized groups suffered most: stagnant floodwaters, covering 30% of Tainan's urban areas, raise risks of waterborne diseases like cholera, as seen in Pakistan's 2022 floods, which infected thousands. Taiwan's response was swift but strained. The deployment of 5,000 rescuers mirrors Japan's post-2011 tsunami efforts, but overwhelmed hospitals and power outages highlight gaps in preparedness. The earthquake exposed outdated building codes in Hualien, where only 40% of structures meet modern seismic standards. Per Taiwan's construction and planning agency, retrofitting, as implemented in Japan, could reduce collapse risks by 40%. Danas revealed inadequate urban drainage, with Taichung's metro flooding within hours, similar to Bangkok's 2023 crisis, where 70% of the city was inundated. Taiwan's sponge city initiatives, designed for regular rainfall, failed against Danas's extreme 600 millimeters, underscoring the need for larger-scale flood defenses. Looking forward, Taiwan must act. The Netherlands' flood barriers, reducing risk by 30%. offer a model for coastal protection, while Japan's real-time tsunami and typhoon alerts, implemented post-2019 Hagibis, could save lives, strengthening building codes, as Chile did after its 2010 quake, could cut structural damage by 50%. Community education, like Australia's flood preparedness programs, could empower residents to act swiftly. For now, shelters in Tainan and Kaohsiung provide food, blankets, and medical care, while communities show solidarity, with neighbors rescuing neighbors from flooded homes. The government has pledged $2 billion in aid, but recovery will take years. One image lingers: a mother in Tainan holding her child above raging waters, a symbol of desperation and hope. These disasters are a wake-up call. From Taiwan to the world, earthquakes and typhoons demand urgent action. Aging infrastructure, vulnerable communities, and intensifying storms cannot wait. The next disaster is already brewing.